That's a powerful title, but also a really interesting title. What do you mean, and what possessed you to write this book?
That's an excellent question as well. So I had been working on all things brain health. That brings us into the related concepts of health span and lifespan for a number of years. And I'd been lecturing about this around different circuits uh, and different events and conferences for a number of years. And so I had aligned and amassed and curated, if you will, all the knowledge that we have in the health span space with 5 pillars: physical activity, and really social connectivity, nutrition, sleep, rest, play, and novel connections and novel activities. We talk about safe but extreme experiences. So I'd been lecturing about this for some time. And the one thing throughout all of my readings and listenings and discussions in the health span and lifespan space that seemed to be missing was the individual health seeker's opportunity to make a choice about what they like, what they prefer, what seems engaging and attractive to them. And so I started to move into this sector that no one else had been looking at, and that is the power of choice. So it came to me, and the research actually followed through with all of this. The research supports it, that when an individual makes a choice about this doctor, this health system, this medication, this intervention, this physical activity, this diet, this time of night to sleep in, this social connectivity. When people make choices, they adopt those identities, they stay consistent with those choices, and in fact, it improves the effectiveness of any one of those things that I listed. So therein comes the answer to your question. It was clear to me that when we want brain and body to interact for their collective and maximal benefit, it has to be, the brain has to choose itself. This is what I think is best for me. And the science in belief, placebo effect, autonomy, and choice bear that out. Higher levels of dopamine, neuroplasticity, and the list goes on.
Interesting, because that word neuroplasticity, um, something most people, most practitioners, or most people back then in the 80s and 90s thought of it as helping stroke patients recover. How should coaches, trainers, and athletes think about that today?
I love that question. I'll stay as short as I can. Neuroplasticity is the underpinning of all forms of learning. Okay. And we have 3 basic types of memories, right? We have fact based memories. We call them semantic memories. We have episodic memories. I make a memory of an event, first time I took a flight or went to Disneyland, etc. And then finally, we have procedural memories, which are skill based, movement based memories, where your brain starts to figure out how to throw that curveball, how to flick your wrist at the end of that free throw, how to put spin or fade on a golf ball, etc. So all 3 of those memories, facts, events, and movements, are stored in your brain. But the only way we make any learning stick is by communicating 2 neurons that never communicated, or by diversifying the connections. And I'll be very brief about that. You can expand the dendrites. You can also make connections more efficient. All of those functions are called neuroplasticity. So for any athlete, any geriathlete or young athlete that wants to learn a movement or understand a strategy or remember a play better, all of those things require memory, which means all of those things require neuroplasticity.